विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. We'll be reading from
Hare Krishna,
the book
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Am I audible clearly? Hare Krishna.
Yes,
Hare Krishna,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Yes, Prabhu,
Okay.
you are audible.
You are audible, Prabhuji. Yeah, we'll be reading from the book The Path of Perfection by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And we are in the 5th chapter of this book. Chapter 5. Determination and steadiness in yoga. यथा दीपो निवातस्थो नेङ्गते सोपमा स्मृता योगिनो यतचित्तस्य युञ्जतो योगमात्मनः. As a lamp in a windless place does not waver, so the transcendentalist, whose mind is controlled, remains always steady in his meditation on the transcendent self. Prabhupada is quoting so many verses from the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, because 6th chapter is meant for the process of meditation, the dhyana, and the control of the mind. Right? And this chapter is dealing with the determination and steadiness in yoga. That is why Srila Prabhupada is opening this chapter with this verse from Bhagavad Gita. Just like a lamp, right? This everybody has experienced, that a lamp kept in a place where there is no wind, right? The lamp remains straight, it does not waver, right? It is steady. Similarly, just like in a windless place, a lamp does not waver. A transcendentalist, who is a transcendentalist? Anybody who is thriving to get out of the clutches of Maya and to establish oneself in the spiritual platform, that person is called as a transcendentalist. So transcendentalist can be of different categories. The devotees who are serving the Lord, they are also transcendentalists. The yogis who are meditating on the Supreme Lord in their heart as Paramatma, they are also transcendentalists. And there are those who want liberation of oneness in the Supreme by knowledge. They are also transcendentalists. So Jnani, Yogi and Bhakta, these are the three kinds of transcendentalists: Jnani, Yogi and Bhakta. If the mind is absorbed in Krishna consciousness, it will remain as steady as the flame of a candle that is in a room where there is no wind. So such transcendentalists, when they are absorbed in Krishna consciousness, their mind is completely under their control. They remain steady in meditation on the transcendent self. Who is the transcendent self? Transcendent self here refers to Lord Krishna, the Supreme Lord Krishna. Yatha Deepo Nivatastho, just like a lamp situated in a place, windless place, na ingate, it does not waver. Yogino yata chittasya, similar is the mind of the yogi. Yunjato yogam atmanaha, who is engaged in meditation on the Supreme Lord. In this verse, the Atma refers to the Supreme Personality of God or the Transcendental Personality, that is Krishna. If the mind is absorbed in Krishna consciousness, it will remain as steady as the flame of a candle that is in a room where there is no wind. Therefore, it is said that a truly Krishna conscious person, always absorbed in transcendence, in constant undisturbed meditation on his worshipable Lord, is as steady as a lamp or candle in a windless place. Right? See how Srila Prabhupada gives clarity. You see, therefore, it is said that a truly Krishna conscious person. Okay, so what are the qualities of that person? Srila Prabhupada describes in different words. He is a truly Krishna conscious person and he is always absorbed in transcendence and is in constant undisturbed meditation. He is truly Krishna conscious. He is absorbed in transcendence. He is constant, undisturbed meditation. So he is in meditation, but not disturbed. Undisturbed meditation. Not only undisturbed, constantly undisturbed meditation. Right? Very important to note how Srila Prabhupada presents this wonderful philosophy of Krishna consciousness in his wonderful books. So, it is said that a truly Krishna conscious person, always absorbed in transcendence, in constant undisturbed meditation on his worshipable Lord, is as steady as a lamp or candle in a windless place. Another aspect is he is truly Krishna conscious, absorbed in transcendence, in constant undisturbed meditation on not void or not some flame, not some lamp or not some light or not some energy, but on the worshipable Lord. This is also very important because people of Kali Yuga have invented so many nonsense meditations. Meditation on some lamp, meditation on some light, meditation on some sound, right? Nowhere in the scriptures. All unauthorized processes of meditation, right? So here Srila Prabhupada is very nicely explaining how a transcendentalist can become like a lamp in a windless place. It can happen only when he is truly Krishna conscious, he is absorbed in transcendence, he is constantly undisturbed, meditating, undisturbed way on the Supreme Lord. Right? And that steadiness is the perfection of yoga. The state of one thus steadily situated in meditation on the transcendent self or the Supreme Lord is described by Sri Krishna in the following verse of Bhagavad Gita. Right? So, first, Krishna says that this is how the yogi's mind is. This is how undisturbed he is. And next, he says, यत्रो परमते चित्तं निरुद्धं योगसेवया यत्र चैवात्मनात्मानं पश्यन्नात्मनि तुष्यति सुखम् आत्यन्तिकं यत्तत् बुद्धिग्राह्यं नतीन्द्रियं वेत्ति यत्र न चैवायं स्थितश्चलति तत्त्वतः यं लब्ध्वा चापरं लाभं मन्यते नाधिकं ततः यस्मिन् स्थितो न दुःखेन गुरुनापि विचाल्यते तं विद्या दुःख संयोग वियोगं योग संनितम्. Very beautiful verses wherein Krishna explains the state of samadhi. The stage of perfection is called trance or samadhi, when one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. This is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind. Yatra chaivatmanatmanam pasyannatmani tushyati. This is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind and to relish and rejoice in the self. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness. Sukham atyantikam yattat buddhigraham atindriyam. So the pleasure what we are enjoying in this material world is indriya sukha. And what Krishna speaks about here in these verses is atindriya sukha. Atindriya sukha is that pleasure which does not come from the dull dead matter, but it comes from the self. It comes from one's self. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness and enjoys himself through transcendental senses. So, the senses with which a transcendentalist enjoy are not the material senses, dull material senses. No, they are the transcendental senses, the spiritual senses. Just like our body is covered by the clothes we wear, similarly, our self is covered by the body which consists of the senses. Just like the body has senses, our self, Atma, soul, also has eternal spiritual senses. But because we are bound in this material world, in this body, these eternal transcendental senses are covered by material nature. So, when one comes to the perfection of yoga by meditation, by the prescribed process of meditation, then he realizes his eternal transcendental senses and he starts enjoying the eternal pleasure with his spiritual senses and not by material senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth. So once one is established in self realization, established in the self, established in the spiritual platform, one does not get deviated again. Established thus, one never departs from the truth. Right? Sometimes we question after practice of so many years. Right? Yesterday also some Mataji questioned this, asked a question about this, that after practicing so many years also we are not able to get detached. So the meaning of that is we are still not able to get detached. We still get attracted to material objects. We still get attracted to the material enjoyment. We still get pulled away by the sensual pleasures. That means we are not yet on the spiritual platform. And what is the process to come to spiritual platform? Very simple. Follow the prescribed rules and regulations. Follow the regulative principles of devotional service, regulative principles of freedom under the guidance of Srila Prabhupada and his disciples. Try to follow as strictly as possible. And the more strictly, stringently we try to follow these things, the more quickly we rise to the spiritual platform. And once we come to the spiritual platform, detachment is a byproduct. Detachment is a byproduct. You need not put separate endeavors to get detached from one thing, to get detached from family, to get detached from material objects, to get detached from the illusory material attractions. You need not put any external endeavor to make it happen. It will happen automatically once we rise to the spiritual platform. Established thus, one never departs from the truth. And upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Yam labdhva cha param labham. Yam labdhva cha aparam labham. Once gaining that apara labha. Yam labdhva cha aparam labham manyate na adhikam tataha. One considers once he starts enjoying with his transcendental senses, that is the highest pleasure. And he understands very clearly that there is no happiness beyond this. Manyate na adhikam tataha yasmin stito na dukkhena. Guru napi vichalyate. And once he is situated in this transcendental happiness, he cannot be shaken, he cannot be disturbed by Guru napi, biggest of dangers of this material world. Cannot shake him. One never departs from the truth, and upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulty. Guru napi, Guru means great. Vichalyate, dukkhena Guru napi, right? Dukkha, which is greatest dukkha, and he is not vichalyate. Na dukkhena Guru napi vichalyate. Tam vidya dukha samyoga viyogam yoga samnitan. One is never shaken even in the midst of greatest difficulty. This indeed is the actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact. Tam vidyad. So here we understand that dukkha samyoga viyogam yoga samnitam. This is the real freedom from all the miseries arising from material contact. So, if one wants to establish oneself in true happiness, wants to mitigate all the material miseries, pains, dissatisfaction, distress, disappointments, frustrations of this material world, one has to situate oneself on the spiritual platform. This is the ultimate solution. And one can remain on the spiritual platform when one is constantly undisturbed in meditation on the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. And one can constantly meditate on the Supreme Lord Krishna without disturbance in Kali Yuga is by constantly chanting offenselessly the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. There is no other process better than this. There is no other process easier than this. Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Harer Nama eva kevalam kalau nasti eva, nasti eva, nasti eva gatiranyatha. Further, Srila Prabhupada makes it more clear about what is actually samadhi. Samadhi does not mean making oneself void or merging into the void. That is impossible. Klesho adhikatarastesham avyakta asakta chetasam. This Krishna speaks in the 12th chapter of the beginning verses of the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita when Arjuna asks Lord Krishna, which worship is best? The worship of your personality or the worship of the impersonal form of yours? And then Krishna says, according to my opinion, the worship of personality of myself is the best. Because then he gives the reason why the worship of impersonal aspect of the absolute truth is not recommended. It's because klesho adhikatarastesham. It is very difficult. The kleshas, the problems, the miseries, the difficulties are more in avyakta asakta chetasam, one who is attached to the unmanifested impersonal form of the Lord. Some yogis say that one has to put an end to all activities and make himself motionless. But how is this possible? By nature, the living entity, excuse me, by nature, the living entity is a moving, acting spirit. Motionless means putting an end to material motion and being fixed in Krishna consciousness. So, some people, some yogis, some transcendentalists, they think that if one has to situate oneself in spiritual platform means they have to stop, they have to negate all activities, right? But activities cannot be stopped because by nature atma is active. By nature the living entity is a moving spirit, an acting spirit. How can you put all the activities to end, right? So motion act, the real motionless means putting an end to material motion, putting an end to material activities and being fixed in Krishna consciousness. In such a state, one is no longer disturbed by material propensities. As one becomes materially motionless, one's motions in Krishna consciousness increase. As one becomes active in Krishna consciousness, one becomes automatically motionless in respect to material activities. So, with respect to material activities, one becomes motionless. Once one's spiritual activities begin, material activities stop. So, materially, the person is dead. Right. I have often used the example of a restless child. Yeah, very beautiful example. Since it is impossible to make such a child motionless, it is necessary to give him some playthings or some pictures to look at. In this way, he will be engaged or motionless in the sense that he will not be committing some mischief. Right. This is also a common experience for all of us. Right. Any child, you see, you can't keep that child quiet unless that child is something extraordinary, right? So the children are always mischievous, always in action, always they're creating disturbance, right? But if you don't want the child to create problems, create disturbance, to do something unwanted, you have to engage them in some proper action, right? Give them something to play, give them something to see some pictures, as Prabhupada says here. So when that is done, the child is engaged in something and he will not create disturbance. So similarly, we as spirit soul, we are always active. We should be engaged, atma, as spirit soul, we should be engaged in the proper activities. Right now we are doing all improper activities, useless activities. We should be engaged in useful activities of Krishna consciousness, and that is real motionless, that is real silence, right? Even there are some people, some categories of so called spiritualists who say mauna vrata, or they don't speak for some. The real mauna vrata means not speaking nonsense of this material world, not speaking gramya katha of this world, but to speak of Krishna alone. When you speak about Krishna, that is real silence, that is real silence, right? This Krishna, Srila Prabhupada speaks very nicely in the book Nectar of Instruction. In the very first verse of the book, Srila Rupa Goswami speaks about who can become the Acharya of the whole world, who can make disciples in the entire planet, right? He is a person who has controlled all the urges of the body. Vacho vegam manasah krodha vegam jivha vegam ubara upastha vegam etan vegan yo vishaheta dhiraha sarvam api mam prithvim shashishyat. So all the personality who has conquered or who has subdued all his urges, the urges of the tongue, urges of the belly, urges of the genitals, urges of speech, urges of mind, urges of anger, vacho vegam manasah krodha vegam jivha vegam udara upastha vegam, the six kinds of strong urges in the body. And one who has controlled these urges, he is actually eligible to make disciples all over the world. Right? So in when Prabhupada explains about vacho vegam, the urge of the tongue, right? Tongue has two very important tasks. One is to speak and one is to taste, right? So when you are speaking, it is said your tongue is controlled only when you speak of Krishna Katha and when you taste only Krishna Prasadam. Your tongue is completely controlled. If you are not speaking Krishna Katha but Gramya Katha, if you are not talking about Krishna but some celebrities, cricket stars, and all other outside nonsense, and if you are not eating prasadam but all the things available outside, then your tongue is not controlled. The real control of the tongue means speak only about Krishna and eat only Krishna Prasadam. And in the same purport, Prabhupada says silence. Some people want silent, want to make, because tongue is only always vibrating, completely stop talking. No, that is not real silence. Silence. Real silence means talking about Krishna. As one becomes materially motionless, one's motions in Krishna consciousness increase. As one becomes active in Krishna consciousness, one becomes automatically motionless in respect to material activities. I have often used the example of a restless child. Since it is impossible to make such a child motionless, it is necessary to give him some playthings or some pictures to look at. In this way, he will be engaged or motionless in the sense that he will not be committing some mischief. But if one really wants to make him motionless, one must give him some engagement in Krishna consciousness. Then there will be no scope for mischievous activities. Due to realization in Krishna consciousness, okay, then there will be no scope for mischievous activities due to realization in Krishna consciousness. To be engaged in Krishna consciousness, one should first realize I am Krishna's. I am not this matter. I am not of this nation or of this society. I do not belong to this rascal or that rascal. I do not belong to this rascal or that rascal. I am simply Krishna's. This is motionlessness. This is full knowledge, realizing our actual position as part and parcel of Krishna. As stated in the 15th chapter, 15.7, Mama evamsho jiva loke jiva bhutah sanatanah. All the living entities in this material world, conditioned material world, are my eternal fragmental parts. As soon as we understand this, we immediately cease our material activities, and this is what is meant by being motionless. In this state, one sees the self by the pure mind and relishes and rejoices in the self. Pure mind means understanding that I belong to Krishna. At the present moment, the mind is contaminated because we are thinking I belong to this, I belong to that, right? I am American, I am Indian, I am Kannadiga, I am man, I am dog, I am this, I am that, right? So many things. So once you come out of this, that is called as pure mind, thinking with pure mind. The mind is pure when it understands I belong to Krishna. Rejoicing in the self means rejoicing with Krishna. Krishna is the super soul. Krishna is the super soul or the super self. I am the individual soul or the individual self. The super self and the self enjoy together, Enjoyment cannot be alone, there must be two. What experience do we have of solitary enjoyment? Solitary enjoyment is not possible. Enjoyment means two: Krishna, who is the super soul, and the individual soul. So, enjoyment cannot be alone, right? We have seen this. Sometimes some people have done some study and some experiments also, by keeping one person, in solitude, right? And a person actually cannot live. He may be given all the facilities, but no interaction with any person, alone. The person goes mad after a few days, because we are sangha jivi. We are meant to live with others. So one person cannot enjoy. There must be two. And who should be the two? The jiva and the Paramatma, the super soul and the individual soul. If one is convinced that I am part and parcel of Krishna, one is not disturbed even in the midst of greatest difficulties, because one knows that Krishna will give protection. That is surrender. To attain this position, one must try his best, use his intelligence, and believe in Krishna. बालस्य नेह शरणं पितरो न सिंह. बालस्य न इह शरणं पितरो न सिंह. This is the prayer of Prahlad Maharaj. If Krishna does not protect us, nothing can save us. If Krishna neglects us, there is no remedy, and whatever measures we take to try to protect ourselves will be ultimately defeated. There may be many expert physicians treating a deceased man, but there is no guarantee that he will live. Right? If Krishna so wills, a person will die despite the best physicians and medicines. On the other hand, if Krishna is protecting us, we will survive even without medical treatment. When one is fully surrendered to Krishna, he becomes happy knowing that regardless of the situation, Krishna will protect him. He is just like a child who is fully surrendered to his parents, right? Confident that they are there to protect him. As stated by Yamunacharya in his Stotra Ratna, Kadaham Aikantika Nitya Kinkaraha Praharshayishyami Sanatha Jivitam. Sanatha Jivitam. O Lord, when shall I engage as your permanent eternal servant and always feel joyful to have such a perfect master? So this mood of being totally depending on the Supreme Lord, we see in the in the life of the great devotees like Prahlad Maharaj, Ambarish Maharaj, right? Recently we had the beautiful movie, Mahavatar Narsimha. I hope all of you have at least once watched this movie. Such a wonderful movie wherein we see how Prahlad is totally dependent on the Supreme Lord, right? And the one who is dependent on the Supreme Lord is not a person who is weak. He is actually the real strong man, right? But the one who is not dependent on the Supreme Lord is really a weak person. He has no way, no protector. He is actually anatha. And the one who is depending totally, completely surrendered to Krishna is sanatha, right? So when one fully surrendered to Krishna, he becomes happy knowing that regardless of the situation, Krishna will protect him. He is just like a child who is fully surrendered to his parents, confident that they are there to protect him, as stated by Yamunacharya in the Stotra Ratna. O Lord, when shall I engage as your permanent eternal servant and always feel joyful to have such a perfect master? If we know that there is someone very powerful who is our patron and savior, aren't we happy? But if we try to act on our own and at our own risk, how can we be happy? Happiness means being in Krishna consciousness and being convinced that Krishna will give me protection, and being true to Krishna. It is not possible to be happy otherwise. Very straightforward statement. One can be really happy when he lives with the truth that only Krishna can protect me, and if Krishna does not protect me, I am doomed. Of course, Krishna is giving all living entities protection, even in their rebellious condition. Eko bahunam yo vidadhati kaman. Right? Even though some living entities are not surrendered to Krishna, still by the arrangement of Krishna, Krishna is supplying, protecting all of them. Without Krishna's protection, we cannot live for a second. When we admit and recognize Krishna's kindness, we become happy. Krishna is protecting us at every moment, but we do not realize this because we have taken life at our own risk. Krishna gives us a certain amount of freedom, saying, all right, do whatever you like. As far as possible, I will give you protection. However, when the living entity is fully surrendered to Krishna, Krishna takes total charge and gives special protection. If a child grows up and doesn't care for his father and acts freely, what can his father do? He can only say, do whatever you like. But when a son puts himself fully under his father's protection, he receives more care, as Krishna states in the ninth chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Samoham sarva bhuteshu name dveshosti na priyah ye bhajanti tu mam bhaktya mayi te teshu chapyaham. I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all, but ye bhajanti tu mam bhaktya. But whoever renders service unto me in devotional service is a friend and is in me, and I am also a friend to him. Mahite teshu chapyaham. How can Krishna be envious of anyone? Everyone is Krishna's son. Similarly, how can Krishna be an enemy toward anyone? Since all living entities are Krishna's sons, he is always a friend. Unfortunately, we are not taking advantage of his friendship, and that is our disease. Once we recognize Krishna as our eternal father and friend, we can understand that he is always protecting us, and in this way, we can be happy. In the next part, we will see in the next class.